Liked by the sound of violence.
That's how his back felt. His back felt like it felt like a big rubber band, but I felt resistance, but then I felt myself pulling through the resistance. Like I felt tension, and then I felt it releasing, and I felt more tension, and it just felt like I was tearing something. And I honestly think the best thing for him to do right now would be for him to let me twist her the other side. And so he would be all evened up. You know, I'm no chiropractor, but I can guarantee you he's got some crooked walk going on right now. He's got some pimp walk going on.
Wait, so you are inviting Matt to come to Arkansas to have you twist his body the other way to even things out? Is that what you were saying?
I will slowly twist the other side back into place. I would never crank it that hard again.
Oh my gosh.
But that would be, Dr. Bryce recommends you get in a twister on the opposite side and slowly stretch the other side. It's going to line everything back up, because when your vertebrae and hips and stuff get all twisted, they get all twisted, like twisted up.
Yeah.
You want to untwist it the other way. You know what I'm saying? Just like when my nuts got caught in that drill, they got twisted up one way, I reversed it and untwisted them.
Okay.
Same concept.
What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast to let you know the MMA podcast you should catch, skip, and can't miss each week, as well as we try and check out a new show. I am Pulver, and I'm here yet again with my co-host, Chris Madaffer. What up, dude?
Sounds like you poured too much head on your beer right there.
A little bit. It got real dicey there for a second.
It's all good, though. Beer's beer.
That's right.
Doing all right. Just smoked a bowl before this. Just kind of getting that, because I am hyped for this fucking pay-per-view card, even though I won't be able to watch it because I'll be working. Well, who am I kidding? I'll be watching it, just as long as it's slow, right? You know, I can't miss these fights.
Yeah,
it's too good of a card.
Should be ridiculous. This card is stacked as hell. So I'm excited to get into it. I guess we should start off, though, with our Papa Vodka presents, Doug Stanhope presents, our super real, totally not fake sponsors. What you drinking on this week?
So you mentioned it last week, and it intrigued me because I hadn't had this beer in a while. I'm having New English again, but I'm having their Zoom Bar, but it's barrel-aged. Found one at a keg and bottle.
That's
real
what's
nice.
up.
So,
yeah, I haven't seen
I
those
poured
around.
it in a nice little like wine kind of flute. Very, very pitch black.
That's
very fucking good.
That's still got a decent amount of head on it for it being barrel aged.
Yeah, it's good, man. This is real solid.
That's incredible. Yeah, I haven't seen that around.
Yeah, he says the ABV's I think the ABV's like at 10.8 or something like that. So, which
That's
is I guess standard for. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's good though, man.
Regular Zoom Bar is like what, 9 something?
I think it's like 9 something. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have one of those over there. I might have it in a bit. Also, what are you smoking on? Do you know the strain?
God damn it. I think it's Girl Scout cookies.
That's a
that
solid,
or Do-si-do.
That's a solid. Either one of those
I
are
think
very solid staples.
Yeah, I think it's Girl Scout cookies for sure. So
that's what's up. So this week I am drinking. I liked the Full Circle Brewing Pie of the Tiger that I had last week so goddamn much. It was the fruited sour made with graham cracker, and it was so goddamn good that I actually picked up another one of the Full Circle Brewing Company hip hop collaborations. I forget what they're calling it. Hip hop puree, I think is what they're calling it, if I remember right. But I picked up the Illa Vanilla.
That's right.
I picked up the Illa Vanilla Milkshake IPA, and it's a classic milkshake IPA. Definitely a lot of vanilla in it. Not overpowering. It tastes kind of like orange vanilla, kind of like smoothie. It's really good.
Like orange vanilla or like creamsicle? But then again, is a creamsicle already kind of like orange vanilla?
Basically creamsicle.
Okay.
It's pretty tasty.
I like that, though.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. It's a little floral for my taste, but I have a feeling I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of that. I still want to try their juicy IPA also, which looks super goddamn good. So cool. I got that. I also over here somewhere have some Mega Queso from Nameless Genetics. That is a fucking stupid sativa, or I guess sativa hybrid. It is really goddamn good. And I got that cigar wax pen that fucked my whole world up on the last episode. So if I get real dangerous, I might grab that.
I wish I could smoke sativas. That shit makes me fucking paranoid.
It helps me stay awake. So, because some of these goddamn indicas I've been smoking are straight nappers.
No, see, that's what I like to do. I like to nap and go right to sleep.
See, I have enough trouble trying not to nap already. Anyway, why don't we go ahead and jump into format? As always, we try and recently I've been trying to cover some of the recent news segments up at the top of the show. And the only real news that I had, or that I caught this week, was that, well, actually, Fernanda Proces's, man, I had that pronunciation down, but I did not have to do an apostrophe S at the end of it, and now I don't have it down anymore. Fernanda's show is switching to Wednesdays for a release schedule, which is just kind of like a programming note kind of thing. And then the Co-Main Event podcast is planning to do a live stream for UFC 245, which I'm pretty excited about.
Speaking of that, I know another podcast that's doing a live stream is Robert Whitaker's Grange TV. He's doing
really?
Coach Fabricio, what's his last name? I can't remember. But
the co-host dude?
Yeah, that's his head coach, Fabricio. They're doing a live stream.
Yeah, cool, man.
For
That'd
245. I can't remember how many hours ahead Australia is. I think it's like 14.
Yeah,
but either way, I can't imagine
morning for him.
Well, yeah. It won't affect us. It'll affect him. So
that's wild.
Yeah, I know he's doing a live stream for sure. So
cool, man. Yeah, that's the only stuff I caught this week. I was surprised. It was a lot of podcasts this week, but I was surprised I didn't have more notes. I normally have.
That was me too.
I normally have I don't know. Well, I guess I do still have 9 pages of notes, but it's less than I thought I would have had.
To be fair, I think this is one of the podcasts where it benefits us more with our preview segment because a lot of these...
Everybody did deep previews this week.
Yeah, that's mainly why too. Everyone kind of did the same. And I'm not trying to downplay the quality of because there were a lot of quality podcasts this week, but a lot of it was just kind of reiterated, albeit in someone else's own style. You tune into certain podcasts, you kind of hear the same thing.
Yeah.
And not that that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. But for me, I wanted to hear the preview stuff more because I'm still trying to wrap my head around who the fuck's going to win, X fight, that kind of thing.
All three of the top fights on this card are super.
Yeah, and that main event, I'll say right now, is probably one of the closest title fights I think on paper we've had. Literally, and we'll get into it, but
I think all three of these are some of the closest title fights we've had in a long time.
Yeah, and I like that. It's nice to kind of see. And yeah, when you think about championship level fights, shouldn't the contender be able to keep up, or shouldn't the challenger be able to keep up with the champion? In most cases, sure. In some cases, maybe not. But in this case, I think it's going to be good. So. I'm stoked, man.
Yeah, man. Should be a fun one. Cool. Well, we will go ahead and jump into format then. And as always, you guys can find all the shows that we talk about in the show notes for the show, hopefully on your podcast player, depending on which one you use. I recommend Podcast Addict. If you're not using that, it's fucking the best as far as I can tell. But also, if you go to thesoundofviolence.com or click the link in the description, should take you to our website where we have very clean notes that won't get all fucked up because your podcast player does not interpret goddamn show notes. I'm looking at you, most podcast players. So why don't we go ahead and jump into format. Chris, why don't you start us off with the MMA podcast you recommend people catch this week is?
So I'll give this one out of the way because it's kind of more of an honorable mention. It's not necessarily a podcast, but it was Dan Hardy's UFC breakdown with John Gooden. I always say his name wrong.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah. Fantastic breakdown of the main event between Usman and Covington. That kind of made me more hyped to the fight. I can't really get into details without previewing the fight, so that's just my honorable mention. My catch think I have multiple catches. The first one I'm going to get into is Submission Radio. I felt it was appropriate to go back to these guys because we have an Aussie as the co-main event. John Morgan was the first guest that I listened to, at least. I don't know how many guests they had. He reflected on being in Abu Dhabi and Melbourne and being present for those cards. I know John's pretty much at every pay-per-view, I believe.
Yeah, he goes to all the big shows, essentially. MMA Junkie's cut down a bit on some of the smaller shows and crazy locations. But yeah, John's still at all the
it reminds me too, like, while some YouTube comments are pretty funny or clever, there's always like that one, especially on Reddit too, where it's like, hey, who's that fat guy with the really small haircut that's always asking for? It's like, oh my god, you just don't understand. You don't know MMA media. It's like, why do you have to say it like that? It's fucking John Morgan.
To be fair, Vitor Belfort also was at it like that. So
really, Jesus.
Yeah, you don't remember that classic thing where Vitor asked who in the audience was going to assault John Morgan?
Wait, like he had beef against Morgan, or he did?
John asked some question he didn't like, and he's like, "Who's going to beat up the fat guy?" Essentially.
Oh my god,
Vitor's fucking not the nicest dude.
Yeah, that's a dick move.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty mean. Just like remember when John Jones, just like a year ago, he said the lady asked a legitimate, viable question. She's like, "Who is this lady? She's a joke. Get her out of here." Like, really, dude? Yeah. You're just gonna. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that came from John Jones. It's fucking John Jones.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't really surprise me with Vitor either.
That reminds me too. John Jones said today, Colby is a habitual liar and a rotten person. Okay, pot, meat, kettle.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, you mean John Jones, the awesome judge of character?
Yeah. So yeah, John Moore was getting into it. He was saying one of the fights that intrigues me the most is Petr Yan against Uriah Faber. I mean, that intrigues me too. Not for maybe most of the reasons why people think. Maybe if you're a fan of Uriah, I wouldn't be hyped on this. Oof. But we'll get into it later. I'm just thinking initially, probably not going to go Faber's way. At least I don't see how.
Again, we both said that about the Ricky Simone fight also. So.
Yeah, evidently. But then again, Petr Yan and Ricky Simone kind of like over here.
Also, Uriah got smashed in the face like 10 seconds into the Ricky Simone fight.
Yeah, I don't think you want to get smashed in the face by Petr Yan. That dude looks like a fucking Terminator. Let's see. John Morgan talks about, so what happens if Aldo beats Moraes? Got to get a title shot, right? And that got me thinking, just how...
So try and give it to Faber if he wins.
Oh, no. I'm talking... Oh, you mean they'll just have him jump over Aldo?
100% Faber is going to get that title shot if he wins.
Oh, God. Well, then you know what? I'll say this. It's biased as fuck. Go Petr Yan. Yeah. I've told you before, I've blasted on the bantamweight division. We need the bantamweight division to be great again. And Uriah Faber, you're not it.
Oh,
sorry.
Jesus.
Check the record, bud. You've never won a UFC belt. But if you were to win a UFC belt, which, no, probably not going to happen. This would be the most hilarious and unthinkable way possible, path-wise, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm kind of lamenting on that. Yeah, if Aldo wins, does he get a title shot? I mean, it depends. If he knocks out Mauro Moraes the first round, fuck yeah, just give him a title shot.
Yeah, but that means he has to make 135 again, which I'm not interested in seeing.
I mean, I don't want to see it either, but I'm just saying. If you knock him out the first round, give him a title shot. Cejudo.
Yeah, but make Cejudo fight him at 45 or something.
Yeah, right. Or just 140 catch weight. Anyways, okay. What happens if Colby wins tomorrow? They were saying Jorge. I agree. There's no way Colby wants to fight Leon Edwards.
It will be Jorge.
No one.
100%.
And this reminds me too. As much as I like Tyron Woodley for who he is, regardless of some of the things he says online,
amazing rap songs.
Clearly, right? I'm gonna beat your ass. Dude, just please fight Leon Edwards. Don't say like, "Oh, I'm not going to London. I won't be fighting." And like, dude. Like, I know Leon Edwards is a bad matchup for a lot of people. That's a winnable fight for you, man. Like, fuck. I know he's a lot bigger than you, but it's like, that just upsets me.
Yeah, I don't know. Leon Edwards is a bad matchup for fucking
That's what I'm saying, for everybody. But no, come on, Tyron. Don't say, like, I remember he said that, and like literally the next day he posts on Instagram, they think they want some, but they don't want none. Like, dude, come on.
No, that was his new verse, dog.
No, I wish I would agree with you, but he's been saying that forever. But it's just like, still, it's just like, fuck off, dude. Woodley, you're annoying me now. Like, come on. John Morgan thinks Volkanovski is going to win in a massive upset. We'll talk about that.
Taking Volkanovski.
We'll talk about more of that later. He likes Nunes a lot, but thinks she'll have to be on her game early against Dangerous Bohemia. I mean, Serena Reneby is no slouch. Then we'll talk about that more. See, I don't want to do the preview stuff already. Like I was saying earlier about the stuff I listened to was preview stuff.
Yep.
Luke Thomas joined the podcast. He discussed apparently he's going to have a potential television appearance on Showtime for a boxing.
Yeah, he had hinted about that.
And it's not a done deal, by the way. But he's saying, he's like, yes, I do cover. He's like, I do cover some boxing, but if I were to do this, it'd have to be almost full time, which he's apprehensive for because he likes MMA so much. So, yeah. And I get it, and I'm liking boxing more as well too, mainly because the heavyweight division making boxing watchable again. Oh wait, I just realized tomorrow is another major boxing fight: Terrence Crawford and Buck. It's like Teofimo Lopez, whatever.
Yeah,
anyways,
that's right, because Terrence Crawford is show too.
He's the number one pound for pound, if unless you correct me, boxer in the world. Dude's unreal. When I watch him fight, I think of like a Pacquiao speed and jab with like Floyd's kind of defense. I know that's people are going to probably like right now. Some listening and they were bigger boxing, and I'm not a boxing head anymore. But they would probably be like, "Dude, fuck you, go fucking like you don't know what you're talking about." And I probably don't, but at least when I saw him fight, I mean, the guy's undefeated, got good defense, got good offense. So, for all you boxing fans, I don't know when that's going to go on. I can't imagine it's around the same time as 245. It'll probably overlap. Oh, no. What am I talking about? Boxing fights are always way, way, way later. Yeah, it's probably
especially if they're on DAZN.
Yeah, so that fight will probably be on around like 10 tomorrow by the time UFC main card's over. So I'll probably watch that as well. After that, then Luke talks about Coley's HEAL Act and then how much he supports the military and yada, yada, yada. And, but yeah, it was a solid episode. It's good to hear from Casper and Dennis again.
Yeah,
I heard those guys in a while.
I always like their shows, and they have a big episode 200 coming up in January.
Yeah, I remember they mentioned that. Because I figured they would have had more episodes by now.
Well, so they don't count their preview shows. So like that's how their last episode was 199. Then the UFC 245 preview show is an episode that doesn't get numbered. It's kind of like how our off weeks or our recap shows don't count for our actual episode numbers. It's kind of like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're actually probably more towards like 400 shows or something like that. They're at a way higher number. But yeah, it's always good to hear those guys. I'm big fans of them, and I always like when they have guys like John Morgan and Luke Thomas on, just because they get fun interviews out of people always.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool, man. I'll go into a catch here just real briefly, and then we can get to your other one. But one of the catches I had was Between the Links, episode 30. I've really been liking this show. This is the show that is on the Loudmouth MMA network. That's kind of like, Around the Horn? Is that the name of it? The ESPN show?
Oh, yeah. Around the Horns with that guy, Tony, the Italian guy. It's like, that's what I say when I know your Italian, I don't know your name. He's been on this like 2005. This guy's like 20. But that show is great. It's great because you just get journalists, like, regardless of they're talking about their actual, solid journalists, but they just discuss things on in sports. You have like a headline, what are your thoughts about this? Tony gives you like 30 seconds to a minute, and then he gives you points for makes the most valid discussion.
Yeah, and that's how they do this show. It's really good.
Okay.
They had Keith from Loudmouth MMA Network. It's Keith, Craig, and John Franklin, who are some of the regular panelists. And then Alexander K. Lee guested for this episode, who I really enjoy him. He always does good work on, he has some really good articles, and he's always cool on Twitter and whatnot.
I remember him from MMA Fighting
a
lot when
exactly.
he was on like A-Side.
Yeah, he's been on A-Side a bunch of times. He's been on a bunch of stuff. I enjoy him quite a bit. But this show it's really started to pull some really good episodes together in a row, and it's sometimes guest dependent, but also the panelists are starting to do weird stuff because they've gotten really good at the format. So, for example, for this episode, John Franklin decides that he's going to answer with an 80s hair metal theme over and over again. So he just keeps slipping in, like, Living on a Prayer type references into his answers. And then the rest of the panel starts slowly doing it also. So by the end of it, it's just a lot of, like, Lady in Red references in the middle of actual answers. It's really goofy, but it's a lot of fun. So it's a very goofy episode, but I had a lot of fun listening to it because everyone just randomly jumped on that 80s like hair metal bandwagon, and all the song references started getting real weird towards the end.
What's the one song by Quiet Riot, that one hair metal band, or say, "Come on, feel the note."
It's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Anything you hear, like at least for people our age, like if you played GTA Vice City.
Yes,
between the ages of like 9 and like 12, you're like, oh yeah, I love 80s metal, especially if you like Iron Maiden, which isn't hair metal at all, but it's kind of more like 80s metal, power metal. Yeah, even Judas Priest.
Yeah, for sure. But it was just a really good episode of that show, and I've really been enjoying it a lot lately. They've really kind of hit their groove and found a really good rhythm. So I highly recommend checking out Between the Links on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network, episode 30.
Okay.
So let's see. You said you had another MMA podcast you recommend people catch?
Yeah, so I said Submission Radio initially. I had an honorable mention. Okay, this is kind of ironic considering he's a shill. But he's probably like, if I ever meet this kid, which I never will, fuck him. Like, well, good luck. Ariel's MMA, it was his show, but it was like a spin-off episode, and he called it The Curious Case of Colby Covington.
Right. This is what was originally the MMA Reporters, but then got renamed to also the Ariel Helwani MMA.
Yeah. So, and I tuned into this mainly because Dan Lambert was the first guest. I'm like, well, haven't heard from him in a while. He first off discussed the rise and evolution of Amanda Nunes' game since she had joined ATT, and just how much he's evolved. I mean, we've all seen it firsthand, you know.
For sure.
It's insane how good she's gotten since she's been at ATT. He said, Dan Lambert's talking about high-level training partners raised her confidence, which led to her championship rise. He said before, like when she joined, she was kind of shy and timid, and he said he saw she had skills for sure, and that's why he brought the right team in. And who was her head coach? It was Dean Thomas for a while. But I think Conan Silvera is her main coach now, who's also the main head.
Mike Brown,
who's also the main head coach of Colby Covington. Conan Silvera is,
right?
People who don't know. But yeah, he discussed also. So Ariel's like, "Oh, what's the relationship between Colby and Jorge? Is it fake or is it real?" And so I was kind of looking at it too. Some people on Reddit were talking. This guy allegedly trains at ATT. And he's like, oh no, he's like, I see Colby and Jorge talking and shooting the shit all the time. And it's like, can I believe that? Sure. They're Colby's a WWE kind of guy. Obviously he's pulling an act. He doesn't care because he needs money. Could I see Jorge going along with it to an extent? Because they've already had a relationship for the past 8 years? I don't know, right? Could also be, annulled or whatever, or it is done. I guess. I don't think it really matters though at this point to the UFC. Maybe to only their fans, right? What do you think about that whole thing? Because Dan was saying he had to sit both of them down separately and kind of talk to them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Because honestly, I could believe it being fake as fuck. Like, it wouldn't surprise me.
It would not surprise me. Yeah, because they're both just playing so many gimmicks and getting ran by managers so much at this point that I have very little interest in what either one of them has to say, especially Jorge Masvidal on Twitter, which is just the fucking Kawa. It's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. Hashtag the resurrection, hashtag this, hashtag blah, blah, blah.
Brutal, man. Jesus. I'm not going to make a joke about another manager assaulting him, but you can figure out where I'm going. It all just does nothing for me. Like, I don't give a fuck about.
Yeah, I don't care either. I just honestly assume it's fake because they both like money. So I'm just gonna assume it's fake. Anyways, blah blah, fake beef, whatever they want to call. Dan Lambert keeping them both in check. Yada yada yada. Destin Poirier wants to beat up Colby, evidently. Don't care. Mark Raimondi interviewed as well. That was a good interview. It was mainly in-depth discussion of Colby and his...
so kind of.
Oh, and then his act, right? And, of course, Arrow's like, I love pro wrestling. Let's talk about what Colby does. He's going to go to WWE? And I was like, fuck. Like, you and I both... I don't dislike the WWE. I just don't care.
No, I'm for sure not a fan of fucking carny calisthenics, as I called it earlier this week.
That's pretty good.
Although I do fucks with the Laps Fan podcast real hard. Anal penetration joke.
By the way, I have to watch that one movie that was, I think it was a 90s movie, early 2000s. Remember that one movie? And I know I've mentioned this before in the podcast. It was David Arquette and some other guy. But they like go to that wrestling show and they get to be part of like the pro wrestling actual act. It's pretty hilarious. There's like these two. It's basically like. Heard of that. Hold on, I'm looking at it real quick.
I do know David Arquette was the WEC champ back in the day. WCW. WCW.
No, he's an actor, motherfucker. He's married to Courtney Cox.
Yeah, he also was the champion of the WCW back in the day.
Okay, then that was probably a promo with the movie.
I'm pretty sure it's WCW, not ECW.
That was probably a promo with the movie. What the fuck? Hold on. Yeah, it's called Ready to Rumble. PG-13, 2000.
Of course it is.
I remember this movie. This movie is fucking stupid.
That sounds like some fucking
But I saw it as a kid.
Bullshit.
I was like, no. I remember you would go to, say you didn't go to Blockbuster, right? Rest in peace, Blockbuster, by the way. Did you remember going to Albertsons and they had a really impressive like VHS and like N64 rental collection?
Like not really, but kind of.
Yeah. But anyways, I would go to the Albertsons in Santa, and you immediately go like straight to your left and you see it. And I think besides Wayne's World being one of the first movies I rented when I was like 8 or 9, I think Ready to Rent checks out. Ready to Rumble was there, and yeah, this movie. That
sounds real bad.
It's not good at all. Yeah, 2 slacker wrestling fans are devastated by the ousting of their favorite character by an unscrupulous promoter. Or they like travel to like the Midwest and they end up getting involved with the show. It's not a good movie at all unless you like pro wrestling. Yeah, take that as you will. Oh, Scott Kahn.
Oh boy, of course! Wow, so that is WCW as fuck if it has Scott Kahn and that dude in it.
It is. Oh, guess who else in it? Bill Goldberg,
exactly.
The wrestler.
Okay, yeah.
Rose McGowan's in this. Jesus Christ. Diamond Dallas Page is in this. Okay, this checks the fuck out.
Yeah, that sounds real fucking bad.
You know the wrestler Sting, obviously. Yeah, his real name Steve Borden. Sting was in this. This is hilarious. I kind of want to watch this again, but I'm going to be very, very inebriated.
Yeah, that movie is hard times that day.
See, because like we don't give a fuck about pro wrestling. Nah, we're not going to do a commentary on pro wrestling. That's doing us a disservice. That's insulting us.
I don't want to watch a fucking Carney movie. Well, we already have to watch too many Carney movies.
That reminds me, I saw some meme today. It's like me when I was 10 years old Googling, what does Rey Mysterio look like without the mask? I'm like, that checks out.
Right.
Yeah. But anyways, sorry for bringing this along and mentioning this because we've talked way too many minutes about fake fucking fighting. So let's move on. There? Yeah, Ariel. Every time.
Right. Ariel's not MMA reporter's show. Yeah.
Which is unironically a catch for me. So take that as you will.
To be fair, Ariel, well, I guess that's a decent segue. It's not quite a catch for me, but Ariel's MMA show this week was pretty good also. It's actually where our intro comes from. With Bryce Mitchell talking about how I believe he said, I'm no doctor, but Dr. Bryce suggests that you let someone slowly twist you on the other side to fix your twisted back. It's like fucking Bryce Mitchell, what the fuck? He's also the dude, I don't know if you guys caught his interview with Aaron Bronstetter last week, where Bryce Mitchell discussed how he recently rear naked choked a deer to death because he missed with his last arrow and there was no one else around and that's all he knew what to do. So he just rear naked choked a deer until his friend came, and then when he let go he realized the deer was already dead.
That was funny, a real story. That's actually funny because I believe him. No, I believe him.
No, 100%. He said he fucking ate the heart of the deer shortly after because he's a goddamn crazy person.
Sure he did. I've only been hunting a couple times and never had the opportunity to dress a deer. It means like after you kill, you like cut it open and do your thing. But no, Yeah.
He fucking rear naked choked a deer.
That's impressive because deer are massive.
Super fucking crazy, and
I'm just saying this. How
questionable as fuck.
What is he? Is he lightweight, right, or like a welterweight?
He's like, I didn't tag it. I didn't use a bullet. That's a real quote.
No, but like real shit. He's like what, a lightweight, like 155, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that means he's probably around 175, 180 tops. A deer, if it's like a buck, like a big deer. I'm assuming this is a white-tailed deer. Okay, I think it's probably about 300 pounds. Either way, plus, yeah, that's still impressive. I don't care what anyone says.
Well, he was wearing camo shorts when he rear naked choked the shit out of it, I'm assuming, despite Reebok.
Yeah, but then again, deer has a long neck, so I can believe it. Yeah, I can believe it. I mean, deer, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he's lying. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. That's still hilarious.
I just think it makes him a very questionable human being if you're going around rear naked choking deers in the middle of the goddamn forest because you missed with your arrow.
Yeah. And he must have been using a bow. Because I know some people hunt with a crossbow. It's like, dude, that's like using a gun. But it's like, come on.
Anyway, yeah, Bryce Mitchell's a weird dude. What was... Oh, right. So I actually had another catch, which was our MMA show, episode 2, or UFC 245, right?
Jimmy Smith, right?
Yep, Jimmy Smith and Ryan Moody. And it's a really good episode. Jimmy brings up the point, which I was kind of playing with this week, and we'll get to it in the breakdowns. I kind of came up to a similar idea, is there's a lot of stories this week about Colby coming out and saying he's doing a gimmick, and they all seem to be hitting this week. And it's not like people haven't asked him about it in the past, but he seems to be talking about it more. And Jimmy is questioning whether or not he's kind of hedging his bets.
So, yeah, I'm glad you just said that because I know Usman in some interviews are saying, oh, the only reason why Colby's just now saying it's an act is because he's just making an excuse for when he loses. However the fight goes down, win or lose, I think Colby is sincere in that he does want to join the WWE. The dude is just like built for wrestling with like shitty scripts and that kind of thing.
Is he?
Well,
I mean, he's built.
I'll say right now,
built for the WWE. He's 100% built for like.
Yeah, I'll say this. Physically, he's literally not built for WWE. He's tiny for WWE. Like you got to be
for like TNA.
Yeah. Either way, I think he did it mostly because he was kind of forced to, because it's a championship move fight and he's the main event, and it was just kind of bound to happen. It was bound to happen at one point. Like, dude, that's just probably tiring playing the act.
I don't
like regardless if he believes half of it or not. I don't care. I'm not invested in his character at all. It honestly goes through one year out the other. I don't give a fuck about his character. Yeah. Some of it I think is fucking hilarious. To be honest, it's so fucking. Joke. Oh yeah, what was the one I saw? God damn it! He said one that was pretty fucking funny. One of the things he just kept saying Epstein didn't kill himself. Which,
that shit is so lazy.
Yeah, that's lazy. What did he say? God damn it! I'll think about it. But he said something that actually made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, he had a decent one again recently.
Yeah, God damn it!
It was another really dumb pun. I think we talked about it last week, actually.
He said Ethiopia last week.
Oh, right. That was the one I was thinking of. It was fucking Ethiopia. It's the dumbest fucking joke. Jesus Christ. I forgot about that shit. Anyway. Yeah. This is going to be my general sentiment throughout most of the show this week is, fucking Colby's gimmicks they do nothing for me either way. They're just kind of boring.
Did you see the weigh-in today?
No.
He had a basketball that had Usman's face on it, and he like drop kicked it into the crowd.
So he's just going full fucking Henry Cejudo at this point?
Yeah, he's using props. And he's like, I'm about to head off the canvas. He's like, one of you virgins are going to fucking be sad tomorrow, Reed.
Speaking of which, you see Volkanovski burn the fuck out of...
it was great.
That was so good.
That was so good.
Oh, my God. Volkanovski's funny. Yeah. So...
He's like, let me destroy your shtick in like half second. All right.
Right. So do you have any other episodes you recommend people catch this week?
Yeah, actually, another one is Heavy Hands. I actually didn't really have any notes for it.
We'll actually get to this one.
Okay, later. Okay, yeah. We'll do that. So you know what? No, I don't have anything else.
Perfect. Well, on that note, do you have any MMA podcasts you recommend people skip?
Yeah, it was the most recent episode of Believe You Me. It was funny, but they just kept talking about sexual harassment. Some reporter got slapped on the ass with the jogging guy, and then they just kept going into that. And then like Lewis was saying some weird shit like, oh, what if your daughter got slapped in the ass by some pervert? And Michael's like, what the fuck you talking about, dude? Like, he's like, my daughter's like a teenager. She's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And it was like that, and it's just like, come on. And,
also, you might as well make their show skip this week because last week they joked, evidently, about doing a drinking game episode this week. There was no fucking drinking game episode.
Yeah, no, Mike's not going to be drinking. He says he already doesn't drink anyway. He's like, yeah, I have like 2 beers and I'm out.
That motherfucker says he doesn't drink like Bert Kreischer says he
Which
doesn't.
I think that's kind of bullshit, though. I could see Mike drinking a shit ton of alcohol.
I think he doesn't drink the same way Bert doesn't, where he's like, oh, I didn't even drink this week. I only had 4 vodka sodas on Tuesday. Then we went out for wings, so I had 4 pitchers of beer.
Dude, like, Jesus. Really is a machine.
Speaking of which, let me go ahead and sip this Buffalo Trace. Keep going.
Yeah, when they actually talk fights, like, oh, height advantage for Max, but reach advantage for Volkanovski, which is crazy. Michael likes Volkanovski and upset. He thinks doing this destroys GDR, and he didn't really give any thoughts on Colby and Usman. He says it's too close. But I think he says Usman takes it by close decision. Oh my God, I don't know. So.
Yeah, I can see how that's a skip. Their episode this week was. I listened to a little bit of it, and I was like, "Yeah."
And Lewis was doubling down with, "Yeah, doggy, baby boy," like literally, like every sense. I'm like, dude, like we get it. It's funny when you say it, but like, don't do it intentionally and consecutively.
Also, can I just be the first? Well, actually, I'm definitely not the first to say it because I know all of his friends have said it. But the fucking the fucking shooting glasses Lewis has decided to wear everywhere nowadays. He's fucking.
Oh, that hurt.
That looked hilarious.
That hurt so bad, dude. My nose is like on fire. Because like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, fuck you, dude.
You know what kind of glasses?
You just made me shoot beer into my nose, you asshole. Oh,
you know what I'm talking
dude.
about, though, right? He
I
wears
know.
those fucking things everywhere.
God damn it, bro. Oh, that was bad timing because, like, once you say yellow glass, I was thinking, dude, he looks like such a fucking moron. And then, like, I just spurt this Russian Imperial Stout in my nose, and I'm, like, crying.
It's a barrel-aged stout.
Dude, I'm, like, crying right now. Oh, my God. Oh, fuck you.
This is out. Well,
yeah, right.
Yeah, no, fucking. I think Lewis probably just figured out who Hunter S. Thompson is, and
I'm not doing cocaine on live air, not right now. Just kidding.
No, that's right. G6 isn't here with us.
Yeah, no, we're home. Good. Okay, I'm good. Just had to clear the nostrils. Thank you for that, though. Yeah, that because we see the fucking thumbnail, like the episode is him making some dumb face, and then I actually look at it on YouTube. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is he doing?
Every time.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Also, they need to figure out what they're doing with their video setup because they change it every week and it just gets progressively weirder. Like
I forgot, they're never really in like studio. They're like never in studio together, right? It's pretty rare.
But they also don't crop the fucking frames, so it's just like weird aspect ratio that they're using because they're doing two shots side by side but not cropped.
Is Lewis on the East Coast or West Coast like Mike?
East Coast. He's in New York, I think.
That's right, because I know Mike's in like Anaheim or like Costa Mesa, somewhere in OC. So yeah, I think he's in Anaheim. Okay, yeah, no, he's in Anaheim because he's at Ruka Gym. That's okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, with Perillo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see why BIM was a skip. That show can be real hit or miss depending on how off topic they're gonna get. Especially when it comes to MMA stuff. Like, there's some episodes they don't even talk MMA. And then they yell about how people want them to talk about MMA more. So, I actually had a skip as well this week. And it is the same show as one of my catches, however, a different episode. Our MMA show, UFC on ESPN, Overeem versus Rosenstruck. Man, there were some rough audio issues with this episode. Essentially, I don't know what. I think it's because they're recording through Podbean because they have some kind of deal with Podbean. It sounds.
No, I remember I had to download that. Just I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this as much as I like this podcast.
Well, you don't have to. You can get it through like a regular RSS.
Oh, really?
Feed. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The only thing is like they do bonus episodes that are Podbean exclusive or something like that, which is fine. Podbean's fine. You can use it through a browser. It works fine. But whatever kind of recording setup they have is gotta be it's gotta be a problem, because in this episode Jimmy's audio is about a full 10 seconds later than, like 10, there's a 10-second delay on Jimmy's audio.
Jesus.
Which is already bad, but it's worse because Ryan can hear him in real time. So, like, clearly when they recorded, it wasn't delayed, but then in post-production, Jimmy's audio got delayed by 10 seconds. So Ryan will ask Jimmy a question. There'll be a blank because Jimmy is actually responding, but there's a 10-second delay. And then Ryan starts responding to Jimmy's response because he's already heard it when it starts playing. So it just becomes like a complete clusterfuck. I don't know why they don't have 2 copies of the audio, because that's a very easy fix. You just basically fucking split the 2 channels, slide Jimmy's audio over 10 seconds, and fucking publish it again. It's real simple. As someone who dealt with an audio issue last week on this show, I can tell you it's not that big a fix as long as you have 2 separate audio channels. So I don't know if it's because of their weird setup with Podbean that they didn't have a separate audio channel for each one of them or what, but it's real rough, and it kind of made it unlistenable because there's just long like gaps where nobody talks, and then both of them talking over each other. So it's kind of unfortunate. But like I said, their UFC 245 show was real good. So unfortunate audio issue, and it makes it pretty tough to listen to.
It's a bummer. It's never a good thing, and it's quite unfortunate because I think they have a quality podcast. But I get it. We run into audio issues before. You know, we've clearly run into audio issues multiple times, and it's just natural.
Yeah. It happens to everybody. Everybody loses segments. Everybody has similar types of issues. It's just that seemed like a pretty fixable one, and so that's kind of a bummer. But what are you gonna do? So I'm glad to see them immediately within the same week though recover and do an episode that clearly didn't have any of those audio issues, because it's a good sign. Cool. So do you have any MMA podcasts you recommend people can't miss this week?
I believe I do. Let's see again. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with Eurobash 63. I like that one a lot.
I didn't catch this one.
They mainly kind of talked about the Bellator upcoming tournament as well as PFL. Brendan Loughning's upcoming debut in the Bellator featherweight tournament, because I believe he's confirmed.
In the tournament, right? Because he fought already, but it wasn't.
He was in PFL. Right? Yeah.
Right, it was PFL. I forgot he moved over to Bellator.
Yeah, they talk about Conor McGregor's next camp. That's official. Him and Cowboy. Well, for now.
Allegedly, yeah.
It'll probably happen. Dana pulls some strings. Whatever. January 18th, that's happening. It's going to be a 5-round main event at 170, which, so like, when you ask me, it's 170 because he wants to be like, Dana, I'm not too small for Jorge. You know, that's probably why he's doing it. But apparently now Dana's like, oh no, you get to, if you win, you get to fight Khabib in a rematch. And then Khabib's like, that's fucking comedy. And then apparently Justin Gaethje went out today and said, Dana, what the fuck's going on? This bullshit. And then all Dana said is, you know what happened. Like, what does that even mean? It's like some cryptic bullshit. Like, did Justin pop for steroids or some shit? And now we're going to fight about that later. I highly doubt that. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Or did your manager, Ali, fuck something up? I don't know. So, there's that. McGregor's coming back. We'll see. Yeah.
Oh, you mean Irish sports star?
Yeah, that guy, same guy. UFC London. They had a really good talk about UFC London and who should be the main event or who probably will be the main event. So as of right now, who will be the main event? It's probably going to be Darren Till versus Jack Hermanson, and that's a fight.
That's a fun fight.
They like, but they also don't necessarily like that because
they want Till to win.
It's, well, I mean, yeah, I kind of got that vibe.
And they don't like wrestling in England?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, because if you ask me right now, I think Hermanson actually wins that fight.
Seems like a tough matchup for Till.
But then again, though, look what Till did to Gastelum. That was still fucking impressive. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
I picked Gastelum 100% in that fight. I was like, oh, Till's not winning this fight. He's not winning this fight. And I was wrong. So, which means Till, please stay at 185. Please.
True. Although Gastelum also didn't do much in that fight either.
No. And to be fair, Gaston, this dude has crazy power. And he probably has more power 195. And you know what? If Till goes out and knocks out Jack Hermanson, okay, you know what I say? If Jared Cannonier isn't getting a fight, let's do Till Cannonier. Two powerful motherfuckers. It's a good distance. The whole middleweight division's interesting, man. Just like, does Yoel really necessarily deserve the title shot? If you ask me, fuck no. He's lost 2 or 3 fights in a row. Actually, I have no idea. I think it's 2. Either way, I don't know. I want to see Cannonier get his title shot. Who knows? That whole division's really interesting now, though.
Oh,
anyways,
sure.
Let me move on.
Also, quick shouts out to Shawnee Podcast in the chat, Sean Sheehan, who actually just let me know that my audio is low, so hopefully that's better.
That's good. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for being in the chat with us.
Yeah, it's got to be early as fuck over in Ireland, so.
That's right. So, Eurobash, they also, Pete C and I also talked about, so they're like, okay, Till and Hermanson probably be the main event of UFC London. What should really be the main event? Oh, Tyron Woodley and Leon Edwards, 100%. And as of right now, Leon Edwards is as much as he can do, right, as far as calling people out. He's been calling Woodley out. And then Woodley posts today, fuck that. I'm not going to London. That's bullshit. If I'm going outside the U.S., I'm on vacation. And then he posts this thing. It's like, no one wants to fight me. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You're just saying, are you just saying you don't want to fight the U.S.? Is that as an excuse, or because AKA Leon Edwards is a bad matchup for you? Come on, dude.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I like Woodley a lot, but it's frustrating being a fan of his at times.
Yeah, that division has kind of been frustrating matchmaking-wise for a while.
If you ask me, too, Leon Edwards should be fighting Jorge Masvidal. Let's sell that fucking beef. Let's sell the backstage bullshit. Let's do it. If I'm matchmaker, but... Then again, Leon Edwards isn't a draw, and Jorge wants money. So
yeah, and I think Leon Edwards houses Jorge Masvidal in the exact kind of decision that puts out all of the hype he had. So
that's why, you know what? When I think about that, regardless if Colby wins or not, dude, he matches up pretty well against Leon. It's actually kind of hilarious.
Probably one of the better ones. I mean, but
I'm just saying, him and Usman are the 2 best matchups for Leon.
They match up well against just about fucking everybody.
If you really think about it, if you say who are the 2 best welterweights in the UFC, sure you could say Usman Woodley, but if it's Usman Covington, that's not a bad argument either. As far as who Covington's beat as well, shtick or not, come on. Yeah. Look what he did to Robbie Lawler. We'll get into this more, but it's you could do that to a very powerful puncher and just keep that fresh, keep that.
2019 Robbie Lawler.
Oh, I know. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not naive to that, but right. I'm just saying as far as throwing some bombs, and you just going forward like that, come on. So it'll be interesting tomorrow. We'll get into that later. I need to go through this. Leon Edwards joined later on the phone, of course. He says he's in Vegas right now. He's going to be there for the main event. So he's looking forward to the main event. He says he hopes he can main event against Woodley. It says Woodley doesn't want to come here because he's afraid of losing to me in London in front of my home crowd. Yada yada. He says, I think Kamaru Usman and Colby are pretty much the same exact fighter. I don't give a shit who I fight next or who wins between these 2 idiots. That's basically what he's saying.
Checks out.
So that's what I had for Eurobash. There was a lot more after that. They had some local fighters, I think, from the Irish scene, which I appreciate. That's what's cool about Eurobash. They like to keep their local guys on there when they can.
For sure.
And that's good exposure. So that was entertaining. I always like listening to Peter Carroll, and his friend Niall. I always forget his last name, unfortunately.
McGrath?
I think it is McGrath.
One of those. I always fuck it up.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, I really like Eurobash a lot. I feel like I don't catch that show as often as I'd like to. So I will have to catch the next episode for sure. Actually, I might go back and listen to that one. So let's see. So my can't miss episode for this week is Heavy Hands, episode 294, which you had mentioned that you really liked as well.
Yeah, I didn't have any notes for that, but that's why I'll kind of let you take point on this.
For sure. I mean, I just really... First off, big fan of Connor Rebush and Phil McKenzie anyway. R.I.P. Pat Wyman. We barely knew you. I'm just kidding. Pat Wyman's fine. He's doing actual adult things rather than covering MMA.
They're like, wait, Pat Wyman or Matt Wyman, the fighter?
Oh, God, no. Matt Wyman, R.I.P., though, for real. Okay. Jesus, I'm not going to make any of the jokes I almost just made. So Volkanovski, they talked Volkanovski versus Max at the top of the show. They also talked quite a bit about Aldo versus what's his face?
One Punch Man.
Yeah. A lot on the previous episode, which we covered. But I really like that segment a bunch. But why this was a can't miss for me is the segment that Connor did with Ed Gallo, talking about the different wrestling aspects.
Oh, yep, I remember that. Yeah.
It's just really interesting. Ed kind of walks through the collegiate background and just the wrestling game of both guys. Kind of Colby's shootout wrestling style versus Usman's counter-focused single game or single heavy game rather. And he walks through some of the Colby changing colleges and being D1, but also and being a D1 All-American, but not necessarily having the toughest bracket of all time. Whereas Usman really made a showing in D2 level and then went on to wrestle amateur and try out. I believe he did really well against the dude who I believe got a silver or something. I'm terrible with recollection of tiny details like that, but really interesting hearing kind of his take between the differences in their games and just kind of run through their background, and because it's stuff that you very rarely hear, especially in kind of a detailed conversation, as to opposed just somebody writing out an article that is listing off accomplishments kind of thing. So I really enjoyed it. I really like Ed Gallo and the Vaping Scooter Gang anyway, so definitely a fun one. And then they came on at the end, Phil and Connor did, to talk about Nunes versus GDR and how interesting a matchup that is as well. So just a really solid episode and a good example why that show is cool. I'm excited to see them get guys like Ed Gallo on more often to do kind of technique breakdowns, because I think they're very good at that, and they're also very good at doing it with guys like Ed and kind of asking questions that they're unsure about the technical side of.
It's always better to have another voice in there as well.
Yep.
Some sort of mediator, whatever you want to put it. Someone that can kind of mend two different. If two people have differing opinions, maybe someone in the middle can help them kind of meet there. Not that you need to. Everyone has, an opinion. That's normal when discussing sports, especially combat sports. But I think it plays well into the flow of their podcast. So for sure, when they have someone else that could break something down like they do as well. So
for sure. Yeah, man. So I highly recommend checking out Heavy Hands episode 294, everybody. They've been killing it this year. So keep an eye out for more stuff from them. And let's see. Did you listen to any new shows this week?
Unfortunately, I did not.
So I listened to a couple. Let me actually pull something up first. While I'm doing that, so where is I really should not be doing all these same things at the same time. Okay, sorry about that. So one of the shows that I listened to this week, that was a new show. It was a new show to me. They had done one episode previously, but I believe they're up to 4 episodes now, which actually, shouts out to John Franklin, who just dropped into the chat a little bit ago. I actually listened to All Angles, his show that he does with Keith Schillen for big cards recently. And they've put out 3 episodes throughout the last 3 weeks. And then they did an episode prior to that. And what All Angles is they essentially go into a very, very in-depth, I believe it's around a 2-hour show, where they take a look at one specific fight. They cover everything kind of to the origin story of the fight and kind of the background. They do a breakdown of each of the fighters and kind of their run through their careers, and then what they think is going to happen and what's coming up next. I know the format's changed a little bit throughout the couple episodes that they've done. The first episode they did was Masvidal versus Diaz, which I did not catch yet. However, I did catch the episodes they did for Amanda versus GDR, for Holloway versus Volkanovski, and for Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman. And I'm just a really big fan of it. I think it's a really interesting kind of... You don't see that in-depth of a breakdown on a single fight, especially nowadays. You used to a lot more way back in the day when events were every couple months, like the old Sherdog Radio Network days and stuff like that. You would see kind of more in-depth discussions on a single fight. But it's just really cool hearing them spend 2 hours talking about just all kind of the backstory of, hey, Amanda and GDR fought way back in 2013, and this was kind of their lead up to their careers going into that, and then how they've both kind of progressed since then, and how they've had real different career paths. It's just a very interesting way to kind of get to know the fights a little bit in more detail. And I'm a big fan of it. I believe the format they use for the most current episode, so it's a 5-round format, and what those rounds are has changed a little bit as they're doing it, since they're still early on, so they're still kind of figuring out exactly what format will work best for that. But for round 1, they're doing the origin story of the two fighters, and the background, kind of if there's any drama, how the fight got made, that kind of stuff. And then in round 2, they do the breakdown of one fighter. Round 3, they do the breakdown of the other fighter. Round 4, they do their predictions. And then round 5, they say what's next. And so I think it's just a really interesting show, and I'm excited to see more of it going forward. I do believe their next episode is going to be in January, and so I may not listen to or cover that one because it's about a famous Irish sports star, and I still haven't decided how much coverage I'm comfortable giving any of that at this point. But I am excited to see them do more of that show going forward, and it was cool seeing that they did 6 hours of content on 3 fights in the lead up to this weekend.
Oh wow.
So it's impressive the amount of work they're putting into it, and I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, man, that sounds like some good in-depth breakdowns.
Yeah,
just content coverage.
Yeah, I really liked it quite a bit. And actually, speaking of in-depth breakdowns, and I swear to God I didn't plan this, but the other person in the chat, Sean Sheehan, also has a show. It's a new show that I listened to this week.
Okay.
So it's hilarious that those two dudes actually dropped into the chat. It is Let the Record Show for UFC 245. I think Sean did one episode of this previously, if I caught that right on the show that I heard. But he essentially, it's no analysis, just a pure dissection of the fighters' records using a combination of Wikipedia, Tapology, and Sherdog. He opened up doing the classic Wikipedia test for UFC 245, which I think everybody does just about, which is you look at it, you count how many blue names there are on Wikipedia for people who actually have pages. And then he kind of does a full recap of the fighters' records on Tapology and kind of just a breakdown of what they've recently been doing. So he did the main event. I hope I'm getting this order right. I believe it was the main event, and then he did a quick rundown of some of the recent fights or some of the undercard fighters, and then he did a more in-depth breakdown of the other 2 title fights. But it's a good example, kind of similar to he did one episode before for Cage Warriors, which is dope as hell. I may actually go back and listen to that because I am all here for more Cage Warriors content. I feel like that promotion doesn't get enough love for how fun it is, even if Graham Boylan is a heck of a character sometimes. But let's see. So yeah, I just really liked it. It's in a similar way that I really enjoyed the Loudmouth MMA guys all English show, in that it's a very in-depth breakdown in a way not a lot of people are doing. This is also that, but in a different way. I think this is like around a 25-30 minute show, and it's a nice refresher, kind of just hear somebody run through like, hey, here's some basic fights that everyone just had. Here is some basic stats about where they're training out of, although sometimes that information comes from Tapology, so you don't realize that Marlon Moraes is now training at ATT in Florida. So there's some small stuff like that, which I always relate to.
I didn't know that. Is Moraes at ATT now?
Moraes is at ATT. Sydney Outlaw is at ATT. Edson Barboza is at ATT. There was kind of an.
I remember Barboza going there, but I had no idea Moraes is. So is he done with Mark Henry's camp, Ricardo Almeida?
Yeah, evidently he was never really working with Mark Henry on this for a striking coach either. Is what
you know who's with Mark Henry now, right? And he has a fight confirmed?
Is he have an afro and he's very skinny at 45?
No, not him. This guy's Mr. Glass Cannon himself, Cody Garbrandt. It's been Mark Henry past like 6 months.
I forgot he went to Mark Henry's gym.
Yeah, he's not at all.
I don't know what that's gonna do to his game.
He's not at all with alpha male at all. I'm actually intrigued about it. He's fighting Rafael Sensao. Co-main event to Francis Ngannou card against Rosenstruck in Columbus, Ohio. So it's the first time ever Cody will fight in his home state.
Interesting.
As
that
far as in the
cannot
UFC.
be good for his emotions, and I feel like that is the biggest problem he has.
However, good enough for him. Sensao doesn't really have knockout power, at least like some of the other bantamweights do. So it's favorable in that matter.
You say that, but he is.
I know I say that, but yeah, Cody Garbrandt's fighting Rafael Sensao. I think it's like March 28th, which is in like Columbus, Ohio. Take that as you will. And he's with Mark Henry, so we'll see the Mark Henry. Cody Garbrandt.
That's crazy.
So, and it's funny too. I'll send this to you later. It was on an Instagram video of like the weigh-in between Uriah Faber and Peter Yan. And what is it? Cody commented, "Get this MFer," and Peter Yan. Of course, it's not really Peter Yan. It said at Cody No Love, "You are next, no chin," in quotes. And then Cody's like, "I'll see you tomorrow. Don't get smacked up, you little hoe." It's like, great.
Cody Garbrandt still doing Cody Garbrandt things out there.
Yeah.
Huh?
But I like that from Peter, even though it probably wasn't him. "You're next, no chin."
Oh boy.
Yeah, and what you know what someone said? So it was a face-off between Usman and Covington. No, not that. It was the announcement of McGregor versus Cowboy. Matt Hughes comments, "Cowboy," with like a fist emoji and a cowboy hat. And of course, someone's comment, "Train tracks, choo choo."
God damn it.
With the emoji. I'm like, okay.
I wish we could tie Colby's fans to train tracks, because they are getting up there with the Connor parrots as to just repeating like lines that were mediocre when they were first stated and worse every time.
The only Connor line that I'll parrot and I like is "You'll do nothing, you little twerp." That's the only one I like. "You'll do nothing."
Yeah. All of my favorite ones are not lines so much as they were followed by lines, like him dancing on a table in Ibiza with the cardboard cutout of his face.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also like when he ripped the picture of all of that. Kind of funny.
Anyway, now that we are officially off the fucking rails again, I highly recommend Let the Record Show, the show that Shawnee Podcast does on the Severe MMA YouTube channel. It's also on their Patreon page if you sign up for the Severe MMA Patreon. Get Shawnee Podcast a pint. I'm fucking all here for it. Especially if he's drinking pints on the stream like he is or like he was last week. It's good shit. Cool, man. Do you have any other shows you wanted to shout out as an honorable mention?
That was it for me, man.
Cool. I had a couple that I'll run through. I mentioned Ariel Helwani's MMA show, which was pretty solid. It's 12 guests, which is too many guests. It's too much. At a certain point, you're losing quality of content for number of content kind of thing. But I don't know. There were some good interviews. There were some mediocre interviews. Jairzinho Rosenstruck called in. Amanda Nunes called in. Liz Carmouche called in. Bryce Mitchell. Paul Felder. Bud Crawford. Ngannou. Diego Sanchez called in saying the mistiest shit I've ever heard in my goddamn life.
Oh, no, I don't like that guy anymore. Not that I liked him, but...
It was bad. Kai Kara France Skyped in, Volkanovski called in, and Aspen Ladd called in. It was a pretty solid episode from Ariel. I liked it quite a bit. He didn't do that thing where he just sits with dead air while he reads text from his producers, which is always nice. Let's see. Submission Radio, we talked about the UFC 245 preview. That was real good. MMA on the Rocks, episode 168. Here, let me take a sip of my Buffalo Trace in honor of Bill Welker.
Shouts out.
Who was actually drinking quite a bit of Buffalo Trace during that episode, so it reminded me I didn't have any Buffalo Trace and how I should fix that. They recapped UFC DC and previewed UFC 245. I liked it quite a bit. Shawnee Podcast also with Severe MMA. Episode 238 was really solid. Talk about how Rosen just exploded Reem's face. And they actually had a really interesting conversation about walkaway KOs forcing the ref's hand. and how it's kind of a dick move to do to the ref. I might be misquoting that last part. That might have been all on me, but it was an interesting conversation nonetheless. Well, actually, Fernandez Proches is. Oh my! I'm gonna fucking forever butcher that. Fernando's show. Well, actually, an episode about all the things was really good. She's getting over a cold, which I can fucking relate to. If you guys heard me last week coughing up a goddamn lung because of that wax pen. Weekly Scraps, episode 54 was really good. Aljo had his friend Stephen Lee on again, who trains at Longo Serra, or whatever, Longo Weidman, whatever the name of that place is nowadays. If I Did It, Carmouche Gets Canned was really solid. Writer and the Fighter, episode 52. A lot of talk about Ricky's fight against Rob Font, and Jake Smith actually talked a bit about how there's kind of been just a revolving door of striking coaches at ATT Portland, and how he feels like it's really been tough because every time there's a new striking coach, you kind of have to relearn whatever style that striking coach has, and he thinks that could have been a factor in Ricky's fight and his own, even just if it just affected confidence levels. So I thought that was really interesting to hear from him. Let's see. UFC Unfiltered, episode 349 and 350 were both actually really good. 349 had Kamaru and Dominic Reyes and Saif Saud. You already know I'm here for every Saif Saud interview. I love that dude. And UFC Unfiltered, episode 350 was Volkanovski, Moraes, and Jeff Neal. That was a solid one also. Between Rounds Roundtable for UFC 245, which is hosted by Jack Encarnacio, had the panel of Jeff Sherwood, Steve Zwan, Ant Walker, and Patrick Auger. It was a really good one. I mean, anything Jack Encarnacio is on, I feel like we are lucky as a goddamn community of people who enjoy MMA that we have the likes of people like Jack Encarnacio doing anything. It's a dude who's written for, I believe, the Boston Globe, and just a dude who's way too smart to be dealing with any of this carny bullshit. Then again, he does have a pro wrestling podcast also, so he's well acquainted with carny bullshit. But anything Jack's on, I'm a big fan of. Also, behind the paywall on Between Rounds on the Between Rounds Patreon network, it's really solid. Also, Beatdown After the Bell was good, which is TJ DeSantis back on the Sherdog Radio Network with Nick Albert and Jay Petrie. That was solid. SWAT MMA, or Smoke Weed in MMA, episode 55 was really fun. Talk a lot of Joshua Ruiz 2 talk, and them talking about UFC 245 while they smoke Space Queen and Blue Dream, which I enjoyed. And MMA and Beyond, episode 94, which is the podcast Ray Longo is on. And I thought that was a fun one. It was interesting to hear him kind of... We all know Ray Longo isn't necessarily the biggest fan of Dan Mergliotta, and boy, did he have some stuff to say about him this week. So that was a pretty fun episode.
Otherwise, I need to send you a video that you can check out during the break. I am very, very sure you've seen it. It was this guy. He's a radio show personality. I think he's like one of the top. He's a major sports radio, but I don't listen to sports radio. Anyways, he did an event. I don't know which MMA Pro show was, but the way he announces it, it's considered the worst of all time, but it's clearly satire. And I will send it to you because you will get a kick out of it.
What does it say? The promotion?
Fuck.
It's not like fucking K1 Dynamite 2000 or whatever, is it? The one that happened at the Coliseum in LA? Because that's a really bad one. It's really bad. I think that was an LA radio DJ actually who did that, if I remember right. TJ DeSantis did a great back when. Oh God, I missed the fuck out of Collapsed MMA. But yeah, they did a great episode on
Let's that. See this. Hold on, make sure my volume's down. Pause this. What is this called? Yeah, I'll just send this to you, and I'll just let you just
all right,
decide.
Well, I guess I'll figure that out on the break then.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. I know you'll think that for sure.
I'm excited to listen to it. Well, on that note, we will go ahead and go to our break. Big shouts to Shawnee Podcast for dropping in. It's always a pleasure to have you in chat, bruh. And let's see. Oh, right. On our clip coming up, you're going to get to hear Jimmy Smith's kind of... I don't know what to call it. Jimmy Smith's got a feeling about the way Colby's been talking recently, and he's kind of worried about where his head's at. So listen to that clip, and we will be back here in just a minute. We're gonna end this video after the clip, and we'll start a new video and do this fucking breakdown for UFC 245. I am goddamn hyped. So we'll be right back.
Liked by the sound of violence.
We talked about this before, and I have said Colby Covington has bet all the chips that he can win. Because the heel gimmick, as far as he has pushed it, and he has pushed it far, gets real tired when you start losing. He's really betting the house on the fact that he can become champion and defeat Kamaru Usman. The interviews he's given recently make me think he's hedging his bets. Hey, I'm not such a bad guy. If I lose, keep me around. I'm not that bad of a guy. He's trying to win back, it seems like, some fans. And all by itself, that's fine. But heading into this fight, it could be an indication that he's not 100% confident. If he thought he could blow Kamaru Usman out of the water, I don't think he'd be saying the things he's saying.
Liked by the sound of violence.
That's how his back felt. His back felt like it felt like a big rubber band, but I felt resistance, but then I felt myself pulling through the resistance. Like I felt tension, and then I felt it releasing, and I felt more tension, and it just felt like I was preparing something. And I honestly think the best thing for him to do right now would be for him to let me twist her the other side. And so he would be all evened up. You know, I'm no chiropractor, but I can guarantee you he's got some crooked walk going on right now. He's got some pimp walk going on.
Wait, so you are inviting Matt to come to Arkansas to have you twist his body the other way to even things out? Is that what you're saying?
I will slowly twist the other side back into place. I would never crank that hard again.
Oh my gosh.
But that would be, Dr. Bryce recommends you get in a twister on the opposite side and slowly stretch the other side. It's gonna line everything back up, because when your vertebrae and hips and stuff get all twisted, they get all twisted, like twisted up.
Yeah.
You wanna untwist it the other way. You know what I'm saying? Just like when my nuts got caught in that drill, they got twisted up one way. I reversed it and untwisted them.
Oh gosh.
Same concept.